Checklist: how to avoid foolish mistakes, leading to fatal consequences. We often consider ourselves fully in control of our actions. So why do we frequently encounter errors and setbacks? According to philosophers Samuel Gorovitz and Alistair McIntyre, the universal vulnerability to error is the root cause of these failures. Despite advances in science, some tasks we take on remain beyond human capabilities. In highly complex fields, such as skyscraper construction, weather forecasting, and intricate surgeries, even top-level specialists must admit that the knowledge and skills gained over years of training and practice don't always prevent mistakes. There are two causes of failure: ignorance and ineptitude. Ignorance stems from the limitations of human understanding. Ineptitude, on the other hand, appears when knowledge exists, but people fail to apply it correctly. So how can we avoid mistakes? The strategy for solving this problem may seem overly simple, even primitive at first glance. Use a checklist. In October 1935, the United States Army Air Corps launched a competition among aircraft manufacturers to create the next generation of long-range bombers. Boeing presented the best design. The flight test for this aircraft seemed to be a mere formality. But minutes after a graceful takeoff, the massive four-engine plane lost speed and crashed to the ground, bursting into flames. It was later discovered that the experienced pilot who died in the crash had forgotten to unlock the controls for rudders and elevators, as the new model was far more complex than previous ones. Instead of prolonging training times, the other test pilots created checklists for takeoff, flight, and landing. Checklists form a kind of cognitive net, capturing all the errors characteristic of human thinking, which are due to deficiencies in memory, attention, and concentration. Similar issues arise for people in a wide range of professions: doctors, lawyers, architects, firefighters, and police officers. Their work is like an aircraft that has become too complex for one person to handle alone. From the Middle Ages until the mid-20th century, master builders designed and constructed all major structures. They oversaw every step of the process, from planning to project completion. By now, the variety and complexity of construction work have far exceeded any one individual's capabilities. Master builders split into architects, engineers, and contractors, each with its own specialties. They have no room for mistakes. Recognizing this, they developed a coordination method for collaborative work, a system of checklists tailored to each stage of the construction process. How does this work in practice? No one authorizes the start of a new stage, even a minor one, until verifying that all prior tasks have been completed. In a 2003 study, researchers found that only 20 significant construction errors occurred each year in the United States, a tiny fraction of the total number of projects. Conclusion: checklists work. When do you need a checklist? Builders use a crucial principle. Decisions during emergencies are made by practitioners directly involved in the work. In contrast, most authorities hesitate to grant local agents broad decision-making powers, relying more on pre-written checklists. However, checklists work better for routine, repetitive tasks than for large-scale crises. In 2006, representatives from the World Health Organization asked the author Atul Gawande to form a group to study post-surgical complications and make recommendations. The working group evaluated several proposals: additional training, material incentives, the creation of international standards, but none fit. They decided to analyze the existing practice of using checklists in medicine. After studying pilots' practices, the working group created a surgical checklist. It contains 19 checks, 7 for anesthesia, 7 for preoperative preparation, and 5 for post-operative checks in the operating room. It takes 2 minutes to complete. The checklist's effectiveness was tested in 8 hospitals across high-income countries: US, Canada, UK, New Zealand, and low-income countries: Philippines, Jordan, India, Tanzania. Just 3 months into the experiment, post-surgical complications dropped by 36%, mortality fell by 47%, and infections almost halved. A survey of 250 surgical team members revealed that 80% found the checklist easy to use, and 78% witnessed it preventing a medical error. By the end of 2009, 12 countries had mandated checklist use in hospitals. What makes a good checklist? A poorly made checklist can be dangerous. Veteran pilot Daniel Borman, who spent 20 years designing checklists and instrument panels for Boeing aircraft, warns of this. If a checklist is vague and imprecise, too lengthy, or hard to use under time pressure, it becomes useless. In contrast, Good checklists are specific and easy to use, even in complex situations. When creating a checklist, follow these rules. 1. Include killer items, tasks that if missed pose serious danger. 2. Keep it to a single page. 3. Use industry-specific language, not bureaucratic jargon. 4. Choose sans serif fonts. 5. Write in both upper and lower case if needed. 6. Test the checklist in real conditions and make adjustments. A checklist is simply a tool. If it doesn't help, errors were made in its creation. Boeing uses 2 checklist types depending on the situation. When the crew must act quickly by memory, they use a do-confirm list, which is checked periodically. For other tasks, steps are performed sequentially from the checklist. These are called read-do lists. However great a checklist may be, its mere presence doesn't guarantee use. Pilots are taught that human memory and logical assessment are limited and prone to error. Unlike many surgeons, good pilots accept these limits. This is why pilots turn to checklists readily in dangerous situations. Checklists open new possibilities in any field and for any enterprise. Warren Buffett also uses his own mental checklist. The application of checklists in other areas hasn't yet taken a systematic form. Errors of teachers, lawyers, government officials, finance workers, and others remain largely unaddressed. Consider your own work. If certain mistakes happen repeatedly, it's time to implement a checklist. Thank you for watching. This was a summary of a book from the Pursuits section of the Wheel of Your Life. To explore books across the entire Wheel of Life, including new releases, subscribe to the channel.